Hello everyone, let's try straight into generative answers. The formal definition of generative answers in Copilot Studio is a capability that uses a large language model to search through specified knowledge sources, summarize the findings, and generate a relevant conversational response to user queries that haven't been pre-programmed as specific topics. In plain everyday English, it is like the open book test. You see, in the old days of building bots, if you didn't spend weeks writing a specific answer for a specific question, the bot would just say, "I'm sorry, I don't know." With generative answers, you don't have to be a mind reader. You just give the agent a textbook, like your company website or a folder of manuals, and it reads it in a split second to find the answer for you. Imagine you are running a small travel agency. Instead of building 100 different pages for how to get a visa for France or what is the baggage limit for Air India, you just point the agent at the official websites. When a user asks a question, the agent looks it up and explains it in a friendly way. Stay with me here, because this is how we make our agents impossible to stump. You have probably seen this at the office, where you have to hunt through a 200-page PDF just to find one rule. We are going to make the agent do that hunting for us. Let's break this down together. We are moving from static answers to dynamic retrieval. So now that we have mastered the idea that our agent can take an open book test, you might be wondering where we actually hide the books for the agent to find. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is configuring public and internal knowledge sources. This brings us to knowledge sources. The technical documentation describes these as the specific data repositories such as public URLs, SharePoint sites, or uploaded documents that act as the grounding data for the AI to ensure its responses are factually accurate and specific to your organization. To speak naturally, it is choosing the right library. You are the librarian and you decide which shelves the agent is allowed to look at. Imagine a dummy example of a local HR department. You want the agent to answer questions about the employee handbook, but you don't want it to look at the payroll spreadsheets. You point the agent at the specific SharePoint folder where the handbook lives. You have probably noticed at the office how dangerous it is when a new person just guesses an answer because they don't have the manual. Knowledge sources ensure our agent never has to guess. Let's break this down together. We are defining the circle of truth for our AI. So now that we've mastered how to pick the right library of information, you might be wondering how we make sure the agent doesn't get carried away and start talking about things that aren't in those books. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is content filtering and generative AI settings. Now we need to talk about content filtering. The formal definition says this is a set of security and moderation layers that determine how strictly the agent should stick to its provided knowledge sources and how it should handle sensitive or off-topic queries. In simple everyday English, it's setting the guardrails. You can tell the agent to be strict, medium, or high in its behavior. Think of a dummy example. You are building an agent for a primary school. You set the filters to high because you want to be 100% sure the agent only talks about school lunch and homework and never gets distracted by strange topics on the internet. If a user tries to ask the school agent about the best stock to buy, the agent politely says, "I can only help with school related questions." Stay with me here because filters are what make our agents safe and professional. You've probably seen this at the office when a conversation gets awkward because someone started talking about something they shouldn't. Filters keep our agent focused on the job. Let's break this down together. We are teaching our agent professional boundaries. So now that we've mastered how to keep the agent focused on the right topics, you might be wondering how the agent actually proves to the user that it's telling the truth and not just making things up. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is citations and reference links. This brings us to citations and verifiability. The technical documentation defines citations as automatically generated links or references that appear alongside a generative answer, pointing the user to the exact source document or web page used to create the response. In plain language, it is showing your work. This is the secret to building trust. Imagine a dummy example of a technical support agent for a computer company. A user asks, "How do I reset my router?" the agent explains the steps, but at the bottom it provides a little link that says Source, Router Manual, page 12. The user can click that link and see the actual manual for themselves. You've probably noticed at the office how much more you trust a colleague when they say, according to the contract on page 5, instead of just saying, I think so. Stay with me here, because citations prevent the AI from hallucinating. If it can't find a source, it won't give the answer. Let's break this down together. We are making our assistant accountable. So, now that we have mastered how to make our agent prove its answers with real evidence, you might be wondering what happens when you have a specific way you want the agent to speak, like being very formal or very funny. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is customizing the AI's instructions and personality. Let's dive into custom instructions. The formal definition describes these as system prompts or guiding rules that define the tone, style, and persona of the agent, ensuring that every generated answer aligns with the company's brand voice and communication standards. To put it very simply, it is giving the agent a personality. You can tell the agent, speak like a helpful, friendly concierge, or speak like a serious professional lawyer. Imagine a dummy example of a surfboard shop. You want the agent to be relaxed. You give it instructions like, use words like awesome and happy surfing and keep the answer short and exciting. Now, even when it's looking up technical data about surfboard wax, it sounds like a person who actually works in the shop. You've probably noticed at the office how a cold or robotic email can ruin your mood. Custom instructions make sure our intelligent agent feels like part of the team. Let's break this down together. We are making our technology human-centric. So now that we've mastered how to give our agent a brain, a library, and a personality, you might be wondering how we combine all of this with our specific business steps, like taking an order after answering a question. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is the fallback topic and boosting conversational coverage. Finally, we reach the fallback topic. This part of the design involves a specialized conversational node that triggers whenever the agent doesn't have a specific topic to follow, allowing the generative AI to take over and search your knowledge sources as a safety net. In our relaxed classroom tone, it simply means the backup plan. In my 25 years, I've seen that you can't build a button for everything. The fallback topic is like a very smart catch-all. Imagine a dummy example. A user asks your bakery agent, do you use gluten-free flour? You didn't build a topic for that. Instead of saying, I don't understand, the agent falls back to its knowledge retrieval. It reads your ingredients list on the website and says, yes, we use almond flour for our gluten-free cakes. Then it asks, would you like to place an order now? You've probably noticed at the office how a project succeeds when there is a good backup plan. The fallback topic is the ultimate insurance for your agent. Let's break this down together. As builders, we are ensuring that no user ever leaves with a no answer. We've looked at the open book test, choosing the right library, setting the guardrails, showing our work with citations, giving the agent a personality, and finally, building the ultimate safety net. We've mastered generative answers. You now know how to build an agent that is truly brilliant and always ready to help. Well, that brings us right into our next chapter.